Hi everyone, welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be doing a chill bullet journaling session for you guys where I'm going to be doing my August bullet journal spreads, and I'm very excited because I haven't had a lot of time recently to just sit down and bullet journal and plan my life out. But considering August is my birth month, I thought why not do a video and show you guys how I did my spreads for this month. Everything that I'm using for today's video is of course going to be linked in the description box, and you can find all of my bullet journaling supply must-haves also in the description box. So yeah, I of course wanted to do a little clouds theme for this month because I feel like I've been doing cloud themes for every August bullet journal spread for the past few years. So I wanted to keep with the cloud theme since it is sort of like my thing at the moment, or my branding as well, as like all very cloud themes and like, you know, cloudy skies and things like that. So obviously I wanted to keep within my branding a little bit and just make it really cozy for me and really pretty with all these like really comforting colors like lavender and pale blue. And so I went in and just added some cloud shapes here and there, and then added in my title for this monthly spread with my Arteza Fineliners. And yeah, all the colors that I'm using for this month's spread are pretty much, you know, purples, lavenders, pale and grayish blues, basically all the colors that you'll see on a lot of the branding on my shop and on my social media and things like that, just because those are the colors that I find really comforting to me and I enjoy a lot. So it's the colors that I'll reach for most often. So yeah, here I'm just finishing off my title up there, August, and then I realized that the color I added in kind of muted the line art a little bit, so I went in with a darker fine liner just to add a more noticeable line art to the title, because I really like that effect. And then it was time to actually draw the calendar, so I went in with a black fine liner and just added in my calendar for this month and kept it nice and simple, just a simple calendar with rounded corners, because I think it looks super cute when you round the corners of anything. So that's what I've been doing with all of my sort of bullet journaling spreads recently. And then I went in with some fine liners again over the clouds that I sketched out earlier, and just added a little like sort of sketchy outline. So not a perfect outline, kind of, you know, missing some of the edges sort of to make it look like it wasn't really colored within the lines very well. And I've been really enjoying this sort of style, just making it look really sketchbooky or scrapbooky and just kind of making it look imperfect. And yeah, it just makes it look really cute. So then I added a square at the bottom, and that's going to be my mood tracker in a second once I actually fill it out. But before that, since I had my fine liners out, I decided to add in my titles over there on the right hand side. And this is usually while I'll plan out my month sort of in more specific terms. So I'll have my goals for this month or things happening this month. And then I'll have my YouTube planner section where I'll plan what videos I'm making or posting that month. And then underneath it, I've got my Patreon section where I just plan out and organize what things I need to do for Patreon that month and what posts I need to work on for that month as well. And basically these sections just keep me really organized and make sure that I don't forget anything. And if you're interested, my Patreon link is on screen and in the description box as well if you'd like to sign up. These sections just make me accountable and make sure that I don't forget anything, basically, since I do have quite a lot of jobs and it's hard to keep track of all of them sometimes. I also wanted to incorporate a little bit of coloring pencils into these spreads just because it just, again, adds a really cute texture to these clouds. And since I'm already doing a sort of like, you know, messily colored in the lines sort of vibe to them, I thought I'd add in a little bit of shadow with some colored pencils and create some little cross hatching, just messily color them in, again, just adding a little bit of a careless style, I guess. And I think it really added a lot of cute dimension to the clouds as well. So then I just went in with one of my Mildliner brush pens and added a bit of a gradient color to my titles. So I just basically flicked my pen and colored just the top parts of the insides of the font that I drew out earlier. And this way it colors in these empty spaces on the letters, but still makes them quite fun. So then I wrote out the days of the week for every single column here, and I just used, again, a nice pastel blue so that they wouldn't be super overbearing, but I could still read them quite nicely. And then I finally filled out my mood tracker that I completely forgot about for a bit. So I just wrote out the title mood tracker down there in the same colors that I've been using, and then created a sort of like almost a gradient color scheme to dictate my mood. So the lighter the blue, the better my mood is, kind of. It's just a bit of a visual representation. It doesn't have to like have anything on it particularly. And then I just wrote out all the days of the month so that I can allocate a mood for every single day of the month. And this really helps me sort of keep track of my mood, my mental health, and it's just a really nice way to also implement a little bit of journaling into every day, even if it's just this and, you know, staying in touch with how you're feeling. Then I busted out my acrylic markers from Arrtx, and they are these gorgeous brush pen markers, and I used these to add in all these really cute yellow stars everywhere to make all these little sparkles, and also to add a little bit more of a gradient to my title up there where it says August. And then after finally adding in all the days of the month into my calendar, which I almost forgot. That was it for my monthly spread. And now let's head into my habits trackers and my expenses trackers. So I've been doing pretty much the same sort of spread for the past few months. I want to say 6 months at this point because it's been working so well for me and it's been like a really easy setup to use that I haven't really wanted to change it. So what I've been doing is kind of splitting up my page on the left here into two. So it's got my habits tracker on the left and then my personal expenses on the right. So I just went in and drew out all of the clouds firstly so that I had sort of an idea where I had all my clouds before I then drew all these tables on top of them, and it just makes it easier to draw on top of the clouds than try to fit the clouds around the tables. And it makes it look a lot more, you know, like organic shapes and stuff like that. And of course then went in with the fine liners and added all those effects to the clouds, as well as my coloring pencil hatching bits as well. And then I added in all the icons over there on my habits tracker that represent a different habit that I am tracking for this month. And those can be, you know, like working out or doing your steps or drinking enough water, taking your meds. So yeah, obviously those will change for everybody, but these are kind of the ones that I am tracking at the moment. And then using a fine liner, I drew out my table over here on the right hand side, and that's going to be my personal expenses. And I've been finding it really useful to separate my personal expenses from my business expenses, which you will see is the whole next page. And this just makes it a lot easier for me to do my expenses at the end of the month in terms of paying my taxes. So it just makes it a lot easier to fill out my spreadsheet at the end of every month and just actually filling out the expenses and income parts, and basically the bits that actually need to be tracked so that I can do my taxes at the end of every year and not want to die, basically. So it just makes my life a little bit easier. So then I use this sort of grayish blue to highlight every other row on this table, and this just makes it really easy for me to sort of track every row, and it just makes it look really professional and cute. I then added in all of the little stars with my Arrtx brush marker, added in my description and the different tabs on the table, and that was kind of it, to be fair, for that whole page. And I moved on to my business expenses page, and again, this is a spread that I've been keeping the same for the past, I want to say 6 months, but it's probably been longer than that because it's been working a charm for me and making me organized with my money, keeping my business expenses really clear and organized as well, because I have a separate spreadsheet that I have in my Google Sheets that I fill out every month, and having all of my business expenses separated into categories like this helps me really have a visual of where I'm spending the most money, where I need to cut back on maybe every month. Yeah, it just makes it a lot easier for me to see my expenses separated into categories, and then also makes it really easy, again, for me to do my taxes. So yeah, each table basically is for a different business expense or a different business income, and this way I can just write out what that expense was, how much money came in or came out, and at the end of the month it just really is easy to see very clearly all the money that's been coming in and out of my business. It's been a lot of trial and error getting these business expenses trackers to work for me. Since I have a small business, it's a lot of trial and error to make things work for you, because obviously things won't work for everybody. So this is what I've found helps me the most in tracking the money in my business. So yeah, that was it for my trackers. And next up we have our brain dump, or my planner double spread. This is just a double spread that I always have every month that basically is just an empty space where I can jot down any notes, make any lists, and just plan anything that I need. It's just empty space basically for me to do a brain dump basically. I just did a little title at the top there with, of course, some clouds, and then did some clouds to frame the page as well. So did some on the corners, at the top and at the bottom, just to make it a little bit cuter and match the theme. So I went in with my purple and my blue pen, just adding in all these cute little clouds, and of course adding in the line art with a fine liner and using my pencils as well for that really cute texture. I also think that these clouds end up looking really cute, sort of like a child drew them, or it has a really youthful sort of look to them because they're sort of messy, and I don't know, I think that's so cute and comforting as well to look at. So yeah, I always want my bullet journal spreads to be really comforting and easy to use and make me feel calm, because planning things like this and doing my bullet journal is a very big part of self-care for me, and a big part of how I relax, or how I gather my thoughts and manage to plan out my week, which results in me having less anxiety and things like that. So obviously making my planner spreads be really relaxing and soothing is an added bonus. Of course, I then added all the yellow sparkles with my Arrtx marker. And that was it for my brain dump. A fairly simple, straightforward double spread since I like to have as much empty space as possible for all my planning. So next up we have the first weekly spread of the month, and I've been using a lot of double spreads recently just because I've been having very busy weeks, so the more space the better. So over here on the left page, I started off by writing the month that it is, so August over there at the top, and then having a small little calendar at the bottom, just sort of showcasing which week of the month we're on. So I'll just write out the whole month and then highlight which week we're on. And it's just a nice little reminder of where in the month we are. And then I drew out all of the days of the week squares, so rectangles I should say, with a black fine liner. So I just separated them into different quadrants here, so I'd have 7 rectangles. And then I drew out a little lavender circle at the top left corner of each of them, and that's where I'm going to write the day of the month. So yeah, finishing off that little calendar over there, I wrote out the days of the week and then all the days of the month and just wrote out the whole calendar over there. And I will then eventually highlight the week that we're on. And while we were here, I thought it was a good moment to color in all of my clouds. I don't know why I didn't do this first like I did on all the other spreads, but it's okay, there are no rules. So I went in with my purple lavender pen and my pale blue Tombow dual brush pen and just added in all these cute little clouds everywhere, sort of peeking out from behind some of these rectangles and whatnot, just making them look like they're in the background. And then of course added my fine liner line art to them and my coloring pencil little textures to them as well. I know some of you might think this is like way too tedious and way too much work for just like a planner or like somewhere to like plan your week, but this again is a very big part of my relaxation for the month and for the week. So this to me is a very enjoyable activity. So obviously not everyone is going to be putting this much work into their bullet journal or their planner. Obviously bullet journaling is meant to fit you and your lifestyle and what you want to do. So don't think that you have to do this much work, but I enjoy doing this a lot, so I like to put a lot of work into it. But I won't do that every month. Some months when I'm really overwhelmed and have a lot of work to do and don't really have a lot of time, my bullet journal spreads are a lot simpler. They don't look this this intense. So yeah, it just is meant to suit your lifestyle and how you're feeling. So then I added in all the days of the month to my little rectangles and also the days of the week onto each rectangle. And that was pretty much it for my first weekly spread of the month and for all of my spreads for this month. Here is a little overview of all the spreads that we did in today's video. I'm really happy with how they turned out. I think they're just so quintessentially Piper and I'm very excited for the month ahead. There's lots of very exciting things happening. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you were bullet journaling along with me, and if you do recreate any of these spreads, tag me in them on social media. I would love to see them. Hope you enjoyed. I hope you had a nice relaxing time, and I will see you guys in my next video. Have a lovely month of August. Bye bye.